Hey everybody, this is Rachel, and today we're going to do another spirit art drawing. If you haven't been to my channel before, a spirit art drawing is basically a form of mediumship in which the spirit world wants to use both communication and drawing. And spirit art can come in like many forms. People can paint, they can do photography, they can do a lot of different things. But for me, I'll be drawing. So I just have my pencils here and my piece of paper, and I kind of go into a super light trance, and then the images just come in. So this is going to be a mediumship reading for a future viewer of this video. So if you watch this drawing and then you see the explanation afterwards, and you know it's for you, and you recognize the information that's in the drawing, please let me know. Write something down in the comments or get back to me somehow. In that case, let's get started on this drawing. Okay, everybody. I think my camera's straight. Anyways, this is the drawing, okay? Now, I took some notes because I just wanted to get things crystal clear. Because sometimes in these readings, I feel like this information comes out of nowhere. And I also pulled a few tarot cards, and when I asked what this guy was like, I got the Hierophant, however you pronounce it. It's basically the Pope. That's who this is. So let me explain this. Purple, to me, it has a lot to do with the crown chakra and a lot of activity up here in the head, and a lot of thinking, a lot of logistics, but then also he was very spiritual at the same time. Hence this Pope card. This to me means he had a lot of clairvoyance and was very forward thinking and had a lot of foresight when it came to decisions, and that could be family decisions or business decisions, personal decisions, any type of decision. He had a lot of foresight and he knew that. Also, look at all the purple. Weird, huh? Okay, so I got this guy kind of at a younger age, or maybe midlife, but he did live an entire life and died in old age. He didn't die young or anything like this picture would suggest. The reason I know that is because I kept thinking about an old folks home and like little kids, little school-age children going to talk to the elderly people, like reading stories and spending time with them while they were still in the beds, or the, elderly people are bedridden. I think that's what happened with him. He was bedridden at an old age, and little kids, they didn't really know who he was, but they still went to go like visit him for volunteer hours or charity work or community service. Yeah, and they were school age, so they were quite young. He was a scholar, and he also had a high stakes, high ranking science career, and he loved Egypt. So this little ankh here is a symbol of reincarnation. So I do think he had a great reverence for Egypt. And so he had this high ranking scientist job, and I think he disagreed with the management quite a bit because he had a lot of knowledge. He was a very smart, intelligent man. He had a lot of foresight, and he's probably like, what the heck is this management doing? They're just as small-brained and short-sighted as anybody else. And you'd think that a really high-ranking science corporation or something would really do things for the community to advance humankind, and I think he didn't really feel like they were doing that. So yeah, he didn't always get along with management, and it's because he was so bright. Yeah, a lot of conflict with the management, and I think he was a military contractor at some point. I don't know if he was always a military contractor or just military contractor for a little bit, but it kind of goes to show, I mean, this is kind of a military haircut. I know his forehead is quite exaggerated, but this is just what I got. This is just what I was led to draw. And I mean, maybe he did have a big forehead, probably not quite this big, but if it was a very like identifying quality of this individual, then it could be exaggerated just so that we would have like a reference point, like, hey, I know that's my uncle because he has a huge forehead. Well, here it is. Look at that. Okay. So I think he invented this thing here, or he had to do something with the development of it. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's definitely gray, and I do think it spins, and these are type of like wing things that kind of stick out in little half circles, but they have these special grooves on them, and the grooves are like little chevron marks, and they're so the chevron marks point in on each side. And when I think of it and when I see it in my mind, it's like it's gray and plastic, like it's not metal. I think it's plastic. And maybe it was a model for something else, but and I also thought he was involved with building satellites. So I'm not sure if this like is a diagram for a satellite, if this is a satellite or a model of a satellite, but he was definitely into some sort of program, like science program that dealt with like space and physics of some sort, because that's the type of high technological knowledge this individual had. I think he made quite a name for himself in the scientific world, and so it was funny that in his old age, the children that took care of him, or didn't take care of him, but that visited him in the old folks' home, like didn't really know who he was. That was fine with him, because I think he found his time in the science field as dramatic, because he was always clashing with his superiors, basically. And of course, if that was a military job, that would be quite stressful, because I don't really know how much you can really disagree with your superiors if you're in any type of military affiliated role. So when I pulled the cards, this is the last card I pulled, but I also pulled the Sun card, and I pulled a Rest card, and then I pulled a Judgment card. So basically, I think he accomplished everything he wanted to in his life now, and that includes fatherhood, because the Sun card implies fatherhood or fatherly love, and as well as warmth and completion. So he completed everything he wanted to in his life. I mean, he obviously knew how to, because he was a pretty enlightened individual, or at least he would consider himself an enlightened individual, considering that we have an Ankh and this is all purple. Now, he might not have been like as nice as he could have been, but he accomplished everything he could, and probably for the role he was in with the science job, maybe nice guys don't win at something like that. So he just, I think he was pretty straightforward individual, especially if he was arguing with his superiors in a military type job. Other card I got was the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords means rest. So I think he's dead now. He sees himself as dead, and it's just a rest period, and he'll be back, because the card after the judge, or after the Four of Swords, was the Judgment card. And that means like leveling up, and it also means reincarnation and karmic cycles. So I think that he's gonna definitely reincarnate again. If he really likes Egypt as much as he says he does, like right here, he definitely believes in reincarnation, because the Egyptians did, or at least he had some sort of belief that was similar to them, because he revered them, their civilization, and their belief system so much. And then of course, this was the last card when I asked directly, who was this guy? Like, what was he like? So he just had a lot of foresight, and he was very, very, very intelligent, and people really looked up to him, and they looked up to him as a visionary, and they looked up to him as like always having the answer. So if you were related to this guy, you'd be really lucky, because he would always just tell you his honest opinion. He'd tell you how it is, and not just that, he knew what he was talking about. He told you the truth. He knew what he was talking about. He's not going to BS you if you asked him for advice. Yeah, so people really looked up to this individual quite a bit, especially family members. Probably not his military superiors, because they just wanted him to fall in line, which he probably did, just given the job that he had. So if this resonates with you, if you know who this individual is, if you're related to this person, or maybe you recognize this guy, maybe you recognize the ample forehead, please write a comment. Let me know. Then this drawing will be yours. And by the way, like and subscribe, and I'll be back with another spirit art video before you know it. Bye-bye.